My interest in landscape photography, I think, traces back to my father. He had really experienced the beauty of Arizona back during the World War II days, and he subscribed to the Arizona Highways magazine, and every month when that magazine would come in, we would sit down and thumb through it and look at all those great scenic pictures. It really stirred an interest and just a knowledge of, wow, these places are really scenic. And then I was very fortunate growing up because my dad liked to take a traveling vacation through the West when I was little. Those planted latent seeds that I think came out later and I think are at the core of my joy of shooting the landscape today.
From the time I was a baby, my family took vacations in the Colorado mountains, and it was cool and beautiful. There's a little creek running, and we kids could play in the creek. We could fish. We could run around, hike, do whatever we wanted at this place. And I think that is where my love of landscape began.
As I got into landscape photography, I joined a local group. Each month when we would meet, Mark Kirtland would give a constructive critique on each of the images. And I quickly learned that was extremely valuable in terms of improving my work. And so next year I entered. Winning the awards is nice. It's kind of an affirmation that, you are growing and that sort of thing.
A year after Doug started competing, I started competing because I saw the value that he got. It was fun to win those awards, but that's not the end all. And once we win an award, that doesn't mean we're there, that we don't want to grow anymore. That's a nice little milestone. But we want to continue to get better and better and better because I know we can. It's pretty tough at first. You hear those critiques picking apart your image, but after you understand the value of it and you pay attention and listen to those, your work will get better too.
One of the tough things about the print competition is critique, but one has to be open to improvement. A couple of years ago, maybe now, Photoshop one day will work just fine. Next day it's doing something stupid. And it wasn't me that caused it, it was Photoshop. But two things, you kind of know I've got to conquer this. And then secondly is kind of the desire returns to conquer it.
When we meet those challenges, the work gets better. And so that makes me a lot more willing to tackle that challenge. Because I know the end result will be better and better, and that is fun.
Yep. What I do with my landscape photography is I want to show the landscape to others out there. I was getting questions, does this place really exist? They had no idea. A lot of people don't get out and experience the landscape. They don't know what's out there. So with the landscape photography, we're kind of sharing that experience, hopefully stimulating some of them to get out in nature and come to a greater appreciation for what it is. I feel so many people are missing out on that these days because their idea of a vacation is going to Disney World or Disneyland as opposed to getting out there and enjoying nature and what's there for us to experience.
Daily life is stressful for everybody. And when I'm out in the landscape, all that stress just melts away. I'm transported back to those peaceful days, peaceful, relaxing days of childhood.
What I noticed in my photography in earlier years, I didn't have love in my life. I was lonely, and that emotion I discovered was kind of coming through in my photography. They were kind of lonely looking scenes or evoked that kind of a mood. And so once I met Laura, and I noticed that my photography changed. There was a different component to it, a joy, a happiness, and then the beauty of the landscape, I think I began to recognize more so. In our workshops, we often tell people to think about the things that inspire them, because for everyone it's something different. I took a waterfall shot in the Columbia River Gorge one time, and I had this sense that I'm looking at the Garden of Eden here. I mean, that was how it struck me. I called it Eden's First Light. And so for the viewer who sees that and reads the title and sees the image, what I'm striving for them is to have that same impression that I had when I saw that scene and took the shot.
For me, when I go out in the landscape, I realize how short our lifespans really are, and how many generations and generations of people have seen this exact same landscape and how everlasting it is.
If you remember from your school history, we got to stand on the Javaca Pueblo and look out across the valley that Coronado come riding up when he first encountered the Zunis. So when you're standing there and you're thinking about that far back in the history of the U.S. and that entrada and the events that occurred after that, it has a profound effect on you. Again, kind of underscoring we're here for just a little bit of time relative to the historical timeline.
Your life's not that long. Life is pretty short, and don't hesitate to try to reach your goals. Don't wait. I think there's always challenges in life, whether it be technology or new demands of your job or a child who's giving you trouble. But I think again, life is just about learning and trying to get better. Being creative about how to overcome a situation. And the way we get better is by recognizing faults or things that need to be tweaked a little bit. And if you tune yourself out to constructive critique, then you fail to grow. And life is a growing experience, and that's what makes it fun.